All right, well, good evening, everyone. We wanted to hold this roundtable this evening to give folks information about what's going on with the Camporee next weekend. Nice to see a nice turnout here tonight. Hopefully we are able to answer any questions that you might have about things that are going on. It's been a long work in progress to get prepared to do a Camporee, and certainly we've had some unusual challenges this year as with every other scouting program due to COVID, but we think we'll be in good shape for that. Let's see, we don't have a slide deck. We don't necessarily have a formal presentation for you here, but we wanted to touch on some of the major points of what's going to be going on. We know that it's been 3 years since we've had a council Camporee, so for some of you, this may be your first time experiencing this, and so we don't want to assume that anybody has prior knowledge of our standard operating procedures for some of this stuff, so we wanted to take a little bit of time to go through that. So check-in is going to begin on Friday at 5 p.m. Right? Please do not arrive before 5 p.m. You can arrive later than that, certainly later than that, and the staff will be ready to greet you for several hours on Friday night. But please don't arrive before 5 o'clock because the staff is going to need time to get set up and make sure that we have the people that we need on hand to be able to greet you and check in and that sort of thing. The leader's guide is, we're finalizing some tweaks to the leader's guide, and we'll be posting an updated version of that within the next 24 hours or so. So that'll be up onto the council website, and we'll post a link to it on social media. And in that leader's guide, there is a map that shows the campgrounds, the Saratoga County Fairgrounds and Boston Spa, and you'll see the route that you're going to take to come in, which is to come in off of Prospect Street on gate 1 there. And at that point, you'll be greeted by staff who will basically check to see what district you're in, and the districts will then, as Drew is so helpfully showing us now, the districts are in the various campsites. Move my screen around so I can see what I'm looking at here. The colored areas on the bottom there represent some of the district campsites. And so you're going to come in from the top there, right where Drew's indicating, follow one direction or the other, depending upon which sites you're going to. So you're either going to go follow that green line, or you're going to follow the red line or orange line there down to the areas. And that's where your district subcamps will be. And all the units will be camping in district subcamps, and in a moment I'll turn it over to Will Farnan, who's our subcamp director, and he'll be able to share with you guys what procedures we'll be doing for check-ins and what you need to know for the subcamp. Friday night, we'll have scout units coming in, venture crews could be coming in, Cub Scout packs will come in and individual Cub Scouts will come in on Saturday morning. Cub Scouts have the option of either just coming in for the day on Saturday. They can come in and spend the night on Saturday night. And if they spend the night on Saturday night, they have the option of either camping as a pack, kind of on their own unit, or we encourage this, camping with your troop. This is a really great opportunity from a membership standpoint, recruiting standpoint, to have the pack in your town, your feeder pack, camp with your scouts so that they can get to know the older scouts and see what your troop is all about. So that's up to you guys if you're going to have that camping relationship. That's to be worked out between the two units. So that's where we begin our check-in. Will, would you like to speak a little bit about kind of the subcamp operations for Friday night?
Sure. I'll give a quick thumbnail here. As you come in on Friday night through gate 1, you will be greeted by staff members who will direct you toward the subcamp that you're going to go to. If you are, for some of you who are here right now, I'll just give you a little heads up. If you are in Yankee Doodle or Fort Orange, when you come in, you're going to follow the green line around to the left. And Fort Orange is the purple area on the bottom around the perimeter. Yankee Doodle is the orange area. It's in the center of the screen. Each subcamp has its own base. And there will be a pop-up tent with some commissioner staff there to check you in and keep you moving smoothly on through. The roadways are a little narrow, and we want to keep everybody going and moving along quickly. If you go down the middle, you're going to go to Turning Point Adirondack. That's the yellow area, right, that's being circled right now with the pointer. And when you come down the middle and you go to the right, and follow the yellow line over to the left side, and the green area is Mohawk. Now, down in the bottom left-hand corner is gate 6. That's the exit gate. And you will just exit there, take a right, and shoot up Fairground Avenue to the parking area on the top left corner of your screen. If you have troop trailers, there will be specific troop trailer parking near each camp, each sub-camp, and the staff will direct you there. You do not have to unhitch your trailer. There's enough space where we set it up so you can just pull straight in with the vehicle, or the trailer facing out backwards so you can access everything. None of this is a very large lift, so once you park the trailers, you can easily carry the gear that you need to your sub-camp. We really don't want to get into a situation where we're unloading trailers in the driving and walking and traffic areas, because we're going to have a lot of people coming in, and we just want to keep things moving slowly and smoothly, quickly and smoothly. If there's any questions, I'll take a couple real quick. There will be signage all over the place. We're going to make this as easy as possible for you. So, okay. We'll be there to help. That's our job.
Thanks, Will. I just want to underline what Will said about trying to keep the traffic moving. And so one of the things that usually slows down traffic and causes a bottleneck as people are tending to come in around the same time is vehicles parked on the side of the road, and people go to unload gear from their car. And, you know, the trailers are one thing, but the cars that park along the side of the road, and people go and they take their stuff to their campsite, and then they maybe start to unpack a couple of things and do all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, their car is still sitting there on the side of the road, blocking traffic. So we would ask you, please, for the vehicles that are dropping off scouts and gear, just take the gear, put it right on the side of the road, move the car out of there. If the scouts stay behind to start walking the stuff over to the campsite or something like that, that's great. But we do want to get the vehicles out of the path of the road as quickly as possible so that we can get other vehicles coming in behind them. And that would be very much appreciated on Friday night. There is no leader meeting on Friday night. You will have information in the leader's guide about what's going on. You'll be given schedules and your patches and things like that from the subcamp staff. They will probably ask you if you've got your health forms, but you're going to hold on to your health forms. So you should have the Part A and B health forms for all of your scouts and leaders, but the units will hold on to those. You do not need to turn those in to the staff at all. Let me just speak for a moment about our COVID protocols, health and safety things. Essentially, before the Camporee, before anybody comes to the Camporee, we're asking that everybody just do a self-check. It's not a written attestation. You're not going to be using an app. You're not going to be filling out a form or signing anything or anything like that. But we do ask everybody to just take a moment and just do a self-check to make sure that you're feeling all right, that you don't have any symptoms of COVID or frankly, any other illness that could be spread and shared with all of your friends at camp. And if you're feeling not well, stay home. That's one of the more important things that we've learned certainly in the last 2 years. So if you are experiencing any symptoms of COVID, if you are awaiting COVID-19 test results, stay home. If you are unvaccinated and you are a close contact of somebody who has recently tested positive, stay home, right? If you're unvaccinated and a close contact. If you're vaccinated, that's a different situation. But if you are unvaccinated and a close contact, and this goes for all the scouts too, when I say you, I'm talking about every participant, scouts and adults as well. Please keep those 3 things in mind. And this is all going to be in the guide that update, which is going to be coming out in the next 24 hours. Yes, to the question in the chat, we're asking the leaders hold on to the medical forms. We are not going to collect those to any central place. The subcamp staff is not collecting them. The Camporee staff is not collecting them. The best place for them is in your hands on the unit level. And if we need to get a hold of them for any reason, for medical reasons, we'll find you and we'll get that information. So make sure that you have the health forms, but just like if you're going away on a weekend camping trip with the troop, hold on to them on your own there. Continuing with the COVID protocols, we do ask that everybody needs to bring a mask, right? Because there's a mix of indoor and outdoor activities at the Camporee. Obviously, you're kind of camping out in the fields. There's a lot of stuff that's happening outside, but there are some indoor venues that we're using for some of the activities. If you've ever been to the fairgrounds there, or if you've ever been to any fairgrounds that have sort of the typical large buildings, we're using some of those for some of our program areas. So things like the archery, BB guns, the scouting historical display. There's a military history display. All of those are inside buildings. And if you go inside a building, everybody needs to mask up. That's vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals need to mask up. Outside, masks are not required, but we do still encourage you to keep in mind social distancing, especially in situations where you may be interacting with people not from your unit. If you think of your unit as your cohort for the weekend, if you got scouts interacting with their friends from the OA, from other troops and stuff like that, it's still a good idea to kind of keep some degree of social distancing so that we can try to keep everybody safe and healthy on that. So that means we really need everybody to bring a mask with them to come to the Camporee. We will not have enough of a supply to give everybody a mask, right? We'll have some for, when kids forget or get one dirty or something like that, but we do need everybody to bring a mask with them. And the mask does need to be worn over the mouth and nose. So there's that. For those of you that may be taking the optional side trip to the New York State Military Museum, there's the Military Museum also requires masks inside, and the masks will also be required on the bus ride over and back. So please keep that in mind as well. As I said, social distancing is recommended wherever possible, particularly when interacting with people from other cohorts. But beyond that, I want to be clear, there are no COVID-related guidelines for tenting. Okay, for tenting arrangements, you do need to follow the normal BSA youth protection guidelines. But as far as COVID is concerned, there's nothing specific to COVID that dictates who can tent with who, that you can't have people from two different households that are tenting together. So that's important. We've gotten a couple of questions about that. So that will probably make things a little bit easier for you in your tenting. You don't have to have as many tents, as many people, spread out, because they can tent together as long as you're following the youth protection guidelines. We do have bathrooms on site that will be available and open throughout the day. They have flush toilets, they have sinks. We will have porta johns around as well to supplement that. And so we certainly encourage people to continue to wash their hands during the day, to use hand sanitizer throughout the day, to try to make sure that everyone stays healthy with that. Okay. I have a question. Our troop. Let's see. I'm going to read this question, and I think it's going to probably maybe go to Will. Our troop will be bringing a trailer, but we'll be cooking meals separate from my Cub Scout pack. We have our own trailer we must bring. Will there be enough parking for trailers nearby in order to unload equipment? So it sounds like we're talking two different trailers for a group.
Okay. Is this a pack and a troop with two trailers?
Yes.
Okay. Trailers stay inside the wire, but they're going to be parked in the trailer parking area. They're not going to be near the campsite,
which aren't that far away. I mean, if you've been to or haven't been to the Saratoga County Fairgrounds, it's really not that large of a fairgrounds relative to some of the other spaces that we've been at in recent years at Altamont and Scotticoke. I think it's feels like it's a little smaller than those. So in terms of distance from where you're going to be camping to the trailers, is really not going to be that far. Trip to the museum times will be given out based on the registrations, and we'll get that information out to you. It's not one time for everybody, so that information will be coming out based on the number of people that we have signed up and the number of shuttle buses trips we need to run on that. Let's see, other things to talk about. As far as the program, there's no opening ceremonies or anything like that on Saturday morning. Program will begin around 9 a.m. It will be very much like a fair where you can just go around and participate in the different activities as they go on throughout the day. There's no particular scheduled times for show times for most activities. If there are few of those things, and we'll get that information out to you in the schedules that are in your packets when you arrive. But basically, it's just an open program throughout the day where Scouts Scouts can go to wherever they want. There will be dedicated Cub Scout activities for the younger Scouts, but the Cub Scouts are also welcome to partake of the entirety of the Camporee. So that's available to them. One program item that I think we had started to mention a little bit in some of our promotional materials, we are unfortunately going to have to cancel, which is we had been talking with a reenactor group that was going to be doing some stuff for us that weekend. We actually just got hit with a change in BSA national policy that came down literally 9 days ago that prohibits the use of cannons at scouting activities, and that kind of put a bit of a crimp in their plans. So unfortunately, the reenactor group will not be coming anymore. But so we will miss them. That would have been a nice treat. But no more cannons at scout activities going forward is the new rule from the BSA. So even by outside groups like reenactors. But we have lots of other programs that are going to be going on there. We've got, some passive programs, displays like the military history stuff. The New York State Military Museum is actually going to be bringing over some displays to the fairgrounds as well. So if your unit is not going over to the museum in Saratoga, you'll still be able to see some of their exhibits at the fairgrounds. There's, as I said, the Scouting Heritage display is going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of stuff on display there. The shooting sports activities, the Cub Scout activities are going on. We've got some of those carnival bounce house type things going on, a climbing wall. There's some other outside groups, first responder groups are going to be coming and doing some demonstrations, like the New York State Urban Search and Rescue Team is going to be putting on some demonstrations and activities for the group. So we've got a lot of fun activities planned for the Scouts throughout the day. And we do have one food vendor that is going to be on site. It's actually one of the permanent food vendors at the fairgrounds. The Burgers Around the World guy is going to be opening up for the day. He'll be opening up in the morning, and he'll have breakfast sandwiches available and coffee and things like that, and then open through the day serving his menu. The menu is of what he has available is in the leader's guide. So it's been posted already. The update, as I said, will be coming soon, but the menu is in there. He's got milkshakes and hot dogs and burgers and a bunch of other kinds of things like that. We're not doing the, as we've done the last couple of Camporees, we're not going to do the full Camporee meal of, the Brooks barbecue kind of thing, partly because we've done that the last two, and we kind of wanted to let that rotate through to make sure that we're not just repeating the same thing all the time. Plus, it's really hard to get a chicken barbecue guy on Columbus Day weekend. So that was the other factor as well that is part of that. Also from a program aspect, there's the 5K, the Council 5K that is an option, the Oh My Gourd 5K, that if anybody signed up for that, you have the option to be able to participate in that and get your 5K in by walking around the fairgrounds that day. And if you indicate it ahead of time, you get a special patch for that activity. And we will have religious services in the evening after dinner. At minimum, we've got a Catholic service and a Scouts Own interfaith service that will be scheduled for after dinner for anybody who would like to attend that.
If I could interrupt you there for a minute, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Now that the map is back up on the screen.
Yep.
Fort Orange is that down the southeast side of the thing, and we have the access to the water outlets. I will make sure, because I'm running Fort Orange, I will make sure there is access to each of the water spigots on the perimeter of the camp.
Yep, we'll make sure that all the water's open. There is water access. You can see a few different spots. Yes, in the Fort Orange area there, but also a little bit above that, as well as over on the other side where Mohawk is. Yep. There's multiple points for that. Will?
Yeah, I'm going to actually have all of those marked with red signs, so everybody's going to be able to see those, and they're going to be out and they're going to be easily visible, and
they pretty much follow the tree line through all next out the sub camps, so everyone will have good access to them.
Yep. Then there's 2 or 3 that go right down the middle as well.
There was a question in the chat about where to drop off the items for the VA stuff. So
yeah, I was going to just ask you if you wanted to talk about the service project.
Yeah, one of the things that we're kind of excited about, if you've been to the last couple of Camporees, is we try and tie in some type of service project. Most of the time, a passive one. This year, we were able to partner up with the VA hospital. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be encouraging all participants, everyone, to bring in toiletries. There's a list of acceptable items in the leader guide, and those are the things that they were particularly looking for. So please don't try and deviate from the list. They are the ones that they have actually asked for. And we're going to have everybody bring as much as you want. And if you notice, there's this little admin building right here. I'm kind of floating the little laser over it. That's where we're going to collect those items. We're going to have some volunteers hanging out inside the pavilion throughout the day, and feel free to drop them off at any point. Usually the morning would be best, so that gives them the afternoon to tidy up, seal up the boxes and whatnot, but we'll take them whenever you're able to drop them off. And then we'll see how much we can gather for the VA, and then we'll get it down to them the following week. And we're kind of really excited about this partnership, so we hope that everybody takes place and participates with us on this. So again, check out the leader guide for those particular items. If you have any questions, please let us know. There's no real particular minimum or maximum you can bring. Just encourage your kids to maybe grab a handful with their parents in preparation for coming, and see how many items your unit can bring to the party. How are we doing? Is there any questions so far as we go through? Okay.
One note just to think about in the campsites, and this is not unusual for how we've done things in the past, ground fires are not permitted at the fairgrounds. So please make sure that if you are going to be bringing any sort of fire producing elements, you've got either elevated grills, or if you're planning on doing any sort of a fire, it needs to be in, you know, one of those half barrels raised off the ground, or a raised fire pit, fireplace kind of thing, portable fireplace. But we cannot have any fires on the ground itself. That's good thing in terms of trying to make sure that we're leaving the property better than we found it when we got there, as scouts like to do. So we've got that going on. Just trying to think what else. In the checkout on Sunday morning is we usually don't have to worry too much about telling people when to check out, because usually crack of dawn, you can hear the motors running as people are starting to get packed up and heading out. But we'll certainly be looking for folks to be departing Sunday morning. There won't be any kind of program. There's nothing going on Sunday morning. Will, you want to say something on that?
Yeah, just to remember on Sunday morning when you're checking out, just as it was on Friday evening when you were coming in, traffic is only going one direction. So if you need to get your vehicle, go over to the parking lot, and then you'll come into gate 1 and very slowly go over and pick your gear up, because we're going to have a lot of people trying to get out all at the same time. And exiting is going to be through gate 6, just like it was on Friday night.
And Denny, to your question in the chat there, Denny, the patches will go out with your check-in packets, so you'll have them at the early in the weekend. Just looking at the list here, see what else we got. We do have the OA that's going to be doing some games, some Highland games, activities on Saturday. All the activities are on Saturday, right? So Friday night is basically just check in, getting everybody settled in, setting up your camps, etc. Saturday throughout the day will be the games and activities, and then Sunday, as we just said, everybody leaves pretty early, and we'll be looking to clear out with the staff having cleared everything and done our final walkthroughs by 11 on Sunday morning, so that we can turn it back over to the fairground staff. Drew, anything else that you wanted to add in on this?
No, you went over the fires. We touched on the water itself. We touched on the porta johns, and we'll be able to use the bathrooms on facility. Cub Scouts will use the parking lot across the street on Saturday morning when they arrive, and then their check-in will also be in this admin building that we're collecting all the items in and whatnot. We'll have this map available to everybody as well, so that way you're not trying to memorize this. The one thing also, I don't know if we pointed out, is in the parking lot, that's where we're going to have the shuttle buses for pick up and drop off. It's away from everybody. It'll be safer that way. And plus, there's a good turnaround there for them to be able to do what they need to do. So if you're wondering where you pick up the shuttle or where the kids will be dropped off, it'll be right across the street in the parking lot, and there's a quick straight across shot right into where the OA Highland area will be. So there will not be any traveling on the roads, it's just straight across. So I'm reading your question here, Tom. Procedure for staff arriving on Saturday and commissioners 10. Do you have a particular question about that, or?
Where do I park on Saturday?
In the parking lot.
Check in at the headquarters. That's fine. And then where's the tent that I'm going to be staffing along with the others?
We will point out the tent when you get there. We're going to place. There's
okay.
Other programs that have size and space considerations, and I'm sure we're going to be shifting them around Friday afternoon. And the commissioner leader thank you tent will go wherever we have green grass and a spot afterwards. So we'll make sure we'll point that out to you when you get there, and staff can park right in the parking lot across the street.
Okay, across Prospect?
Yeah.
Right here.
Okay.
There'll be plenty of space for parking for everybody there. We shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, and on Saturday morning, the only Cub Scout vehicles that should be coming onto the property are ones if the Cub Scouts are staying overnight and they've got gear that they need to drop off to the campsite. Otherwise, they just go straight to the parking lot, park, and walk over as if they were just attending the event. If they're just coming over for the day, vehicles should not be coming onto the fairgrounds proper.
Yeah, the Cub Scout vehicles that are coming in to drop off, if they're camping, will follow the same procedure that the troops did the night before.
Right, and we will have staff to guide them at that time.
We'll be ready for you in the morning.
Question on electricity available for leaders bringing CPAPs. We have a ton of electrical outlets, but will you walk the site a little bit easier? I'll let you take that.
Sure. Can you put the map back up?
Oh, sure. I can do that. Absolutely. Hang on a
Please.
second. Yeah, I'm coming. And sure.
Okay. Probably pretty close to a lot of where the water is. There is, in fact, there are electrical outlets because during the fair season, the people who are working the fair park their RVs all along this perimeter. Also, where you can see in the middle, I know there's a Porta-John icon right there. There's also a water and electric there. There's water and electric over next to the first aid buildings near Mohawk. Honestly, this is the Scout version of a cheap hotel. It really is. We never had it so good. But yes, and we will find ways to help you out if you really need something like CPAP. That's what work with your subcamp staff, and that will help you out.
And while we're talking about just facility items, down here towards the lower part of the fairgrounds is where you will find the dumpster. We have ordered a large dumpster for the weekend so units can dispose of their trash there. That is the only spot that we ask that you dispose of your campsite garbage. Please don't throw it in garbage cans or any other dumpsters. The other dumpsters would be belonging to the fairgrounds themselves, and we have ordered our own. And I do ask that you not overfill the garbage cans, because as Brian and I are one of the cool volunteers that will be handling garbage for the weekend, we greatly appreciate not overflowing them with campsite garbage.
Looking at some of the questions in the chat there, will each unit have a set camp area prearranged, or is it first come, first serve? Mainly wondering if the troop will need to reserve space for the pack coming the following day. Will, do you want to handle that? How the
Sure. Each subcamp is going to be divided into specific campsites for each particular unit. It's going to be based on their size, and it'll be personalized just for you. And when you get there on Friday night, the subcamp staff will direct you to your particular campsite.
Well, would it be helpful if those packs that are planning on staying with the troop, I can't remember if we included that as part of the registration questions, but is there a way for the packs to identify that they're staying with the troop to give you that information?
If that's part of the registration, that would be great.
I don't
We
remember
did
if it is
ask
or
for
not.
it to be part of it. We did ask
Okay.
for it to be part of it. We'll see what happens.
I think it is. I just couldn't remember off the top of my head
Okay.
if that
I
was.
have I have set aside a couple of spots if there are going to be large packs that are going to come, and I'll get them set up with their own area, because packs, if they're coming en masse, camp much larger than a troop does with their family gear.
So Class Bs are sufficient, or Class As needed for something? Class As would be needed for the interfaith service if your unit will be attending that. We're going to have an interfaith service, and then the Catholic Committee is going to be running a Catholic service. I don't know if it's going to be a mass or a service yet, depending if they find a priest who's willing to do it. However, we do have a volunteer who has stepped up to handle the interfaith service for everybody, and usually Class A's would be very much appropriate for an interfaith service. Other than that activities, it is Class B across the board. There is no other official gathering for the Camporee.
Jenny points out units should have a Class A for the museum. That certainly wouldn't be a bad thing, but they'll leave that up to the units to make a determination on that. Rob asks if there's a trading post at the Camporee. There is not. We don't have any plans for a trading post. We did not do a CSP for this year for this Camporee, so there's not a trading post set up. And the staffing at the food vendor, this is the food vendor that handles the fair. They're there. This is their building, their permanent building, so they understand handling large crowds. We have given them an idea of how many we think could potentially be coming. We will update them next week with our actual attendance as that starts to come into focus, because people tend to register very late, and so they'll be aware of what the possible demand is. I did tell them that 3 years ago the vendor had a line of about 7 people deep pretty much the entire time that they were open, the entire day. But beyond that, the staffing is up to him. So I can't tell you what kind of staffing they'll have for that. I did put a patch trading on the map there. It's not going to be an organized thing. It's just basically we just wanted to designate a place where people could go if they were interested in that, to check in and see if there were other like-minded souls who were interested in trading patches during the day.
If you're so inclined, you can kind of pull a Jambo thing and just put a blanket out and put your patches out and sit down and see if anybody bites on them, and that's very well appropriate as well.
Yep.
We're not. It's the welcome packets. Brian or I would be appropriate for that, Rob.
Yep.
All right. I think we've got all the questions off the board.
Any other questions?
So, yeah, what we would recommend on this is the museum only available by bus, or can families drive themselves? We're trying to control not only the amount of people that go, but also give consideration that the museum is in downtown Saratoga, and parking is not the absolute best. They don't have a real designated parking lot. It's street parking for the most part, I think, other than their staff. So you can, if you want to. I doubt we're going to overflow them. We did say, especially for Cubs, if they wanted to do that before coming to the Camporee, or do the Camporee and then head over. For Cub Scouts, that would make a lot of sense, but just be warned that parking may be a little bit of an issue, and you may have to walk a few blocks depending on, if it's a nice weekend in Saratoga. You may luck out and be pretty easy, but I would do that. Just give consideration to the parking situation.
And there is no admission cost at the museum. The cost that we're charging is to cover the cost of the bus. So if somebody did end up going over on their own,
wear your uniform and just enjoy, and that way they know you're part of us. Parking garage is downtown. There is a parking garage. I think the parking garage is about a block and a half, 2 blocks away, I think.
Yeah, it sounds about right. The museum itself, it's in the Armory building. That's basically right across from the Parting Glass, if you're familiar at all with kind of the Saratoga layout. That's the closest landmark I can point you to. There isn't specifically a tour, or like a guided tour of the museum or whatnot, so it'd be kind of based off of how long it takes for folks to make their way through the exhibits. There's a lot of things to read. There's a lot of cool stuff to see there. And I guess probably part of this will be dependent upon the bus schedule of drop-offs and pickups.
So yeah, the bus is going to be scheduled every half hour. So at a half-hour point, it's going to go to Saratoga, and then it's going to come back. So it'll hit each spot about an hour later. So you have an hour cycle. If you miss the bus, it's not that big of a deal to come back. It's just you gotta have to understand that you're gonna have to wait probably another hour before it comes to you. That will increase or differ if we do get enough people and we do set up 2 buses. But Brian and I and Eric Durr were at the museum when we started setting up this. It's a very cool place. You can easily, if you do it right, spend at least an hour there. I would say taking a look at everything. It is a very cool place. They have a lot of exhibits from pretty much everywhere. There's a 9/11 exhibit, I believe. So it is a very cool place. So you can spend at least an hour there if you encourage and take part in it. Yeah. All right. I think we hit everything. Does everybody else have any other questions they want to throw down or ask and go from there? We may have showers on Friday and Saturday. Yeah.
You mean it's going to be a Camporee?
Yeah. It is New York in the fall. Okay. Yeah.
One thing I can tell you about this lot that we'll be on is it's very hard packed, it's very level, and it's probably the highest place and point in the village. So you're probably not going to be camping in any mud. You might be parking in some across the street, but your tent should be all right.
Yep. Great.
You heard it. Guarantee from Will. No mud in the campsites.
We don't have a late registration process set up. The big reason why we don't have a late registration process set up is, one, we have to make sure we have the buses for any museum trips, and we could cut that off. But the second thing is we do have to give ourselves a couple days to get the campsite set up and to make sure that we're allotting the correct amount of space. And to have a unit kind of kick in, an extra 10 people could really throw off an entire district, and it has to be redone. So we're going to try very hard to stick to that. If there is something comes up where it's a one-person deal or whatever, you can email Brian or I, and we can talk to Will if it's not going to affect a domino effect of resetting the entire subcamps. But please, that's why. Yeah, there is always one. But if you say and you show up with an extra 10, I'd be ecstatic you did. But at the same time, you may have to fight people for a piece of earth. So we'll see what we can do.
The vendor is not planning to be open on Sunday morning. He'll be open Saturday morning throughout the day on Saturday, but he will not be there on Sunday morning. Again, it's past experiences that people are, the early rising leaders are going to be up before dawn, and it's typically the way things go, and troops are already rolling out by the time dawn rolls around, and they're usually a ghost town pretty quickly. Yep, we got the recommendations for some good spots on Front Street, so check those out. But it wouldn't be worth the while of a vendor to open up for us for that early morning on Sunday morning usually.
The program is scheduled to end at 4:00 on Saturday, and then I believe we're scheduling the only real evening programs we have scheduled up so far is the interfaith service. We are planning to throw a couple other things together, but if you had to take off, anytime after 4 would be when the program would end. So, and the buses would be returned by then and everything. So,
Are there going to be wristbands for the people on the bus?
there is going to be a list and a check-in, check-off to get on the bus. You have to be on the list at a certain time in order to get on.
Anybody else? Other questions?
Folks, we did record this, so it will be posted up if you want to catch something again. But also on the website, you will find our emails and contact information. Each unit will go to the museum at the same time. No, you will be given a time that you will head over, and we're going to stagger this as best we can. So you will not all be heading over at one time, although that would look like a very cool thing in downtown Saratoga, but we won't do that to people. Yep. So it is recorded. We will post it up so you have access to it. And if you have any other information or questions that come to you after this, just drop us an email. You got Brian's and you have mine up on the website for the event page, and we'll be happy to help you out. In the meantime, please get those registrations in, and so we can make sure that we are all ready for you.
Tuesday night, the 5th is the deadline for registrations. That just gives us a couple of days to make the arrangements for the campsites and sort out where everyone's going to be. So
we're going to spend all day Friday setting it up. So that only gives us Wednesday and Thursday.
yep, staff have the opportunity to register through the site as well, Tom.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a good evening, and we'll see you at the Camporee.